Today I'm in a residential suburb of Newcastle called Walker, once a very close-knit coal mining and shipbuilding community. Now it's sad to say socially and economically deprived and at the mercy of local miscreants who are causing antisocial behaviour, vandalism and tearing around on scrambler bikes wearing balaclavas, a bit like modern day bandits. On the front line are a group of local volunteers who are trying to tackle some of these problems, and we're going to meet them. But before we do that, we're going to have a little walk around this particular area of Newcastle and learn a little bit more about it. The community of Walker and its name goes back to the 13th century. Its original name meant the marsh by the Roman wall, which passed this exact spot on Shields Road. Today, Walker is a residential area around 3 miles east of Newcastle city centre and is roughly divided into Walkerville, Walkergate and Walker. It forms the eastern edge of Newcastle before it hits the boundaries of Wallsend, about a mile further down the road. Famous people of Walker include Cheryl Cole and Eric Burden, who's the lead singer from The Animals. If you know anybody else famous who lived in this neck of the woods, let us know in the comments below. So where I'm stood here right now is just outside the Walkergate metro station. So I'm actually in the Walkergate area, no surprise there. And this main arterial road that's just beside me here is Shields Road. And it's here, probably on this exact spot where Hadrian's Wall was built and ran through, down through Baker and into Newcastle. And this particular road is probably built on the foundations of Hadrian's Wall. Talking of the mining industry, I'm walking down Coots Road now as I'm travelling down to Walker, and here's some old miners' cottages. These ones behind us here opened in 1908. So where I am right now is the junction of Scrogg Road and Welbeck Road running down here. It's my understanding that Welbeck Road forms the boundary between Walkergate just up there and Walker over my right shoulder down there. And actually, where I'm stood right here is about, as the crow flies, a mile away from where I live in Wardley on the other side of the River Tyne. Now, that beautiful old building behind my left shoulder there, the Lady Stevenson Library, was opened in 1908, and it was commissioned by her husband at the time, Sir William Haswell Stevenson, an industrialist of the time, in dedication to Lady Stevenson, who died in 1901. Unfortunately, the library has now closed down now, and Walker Library is somewhere else in the area, I'm not exactly sure where, and it's now the Cambridgeshire Scholarship Publishing Centre. Anybody out there can tell me the history of the NE6 suite behind me there? It's obviously closed down now, but I bet you that's seen some different types of clubs and bingo halls in its time. Now, locals just stopped us here on Scrogg Road. This little mess here next to the convenience store. He said a few weeks ago there was a car went into the, I think it's a storeroom here, and there was another car on the road just in front of us here. So some carry-on has happened here. If anybody local of the area can give us a bit more information, let us know down below. Now, this is where we want to be. This is Walker Park. Now, it was opened in 1891. Victorian Park. There's a few parks like this, not just here in Tyneside area, but around the country from about the mid to late 19th century. This has fell into a bit of a state of disrepair in parts. This is the park that's having some real antisocial problems, in particular with scrambler motorbikes. But back in the day, this was it was a beautiful park. And at the time, I had a boating lake, and there was a promenade and a bandstand, a tennis courts, a bowling green, which I think still operating over there. But this is a real lovely place that the Newcastle Corporation provided for the local community, the industrial shipbuilding community, as a place where they can come and relax and have a walk and have a chill out. You might be wondering who this statue is in the middle of Walker Park in Newcastle. Well, that's Robert Burns, the famous Scottish poet, or Rabbie Burns. And you'd be thinking, why on earth is there a statue of Rabbie Burns here in a park in Newcastle? Well, it goes back to the shipbuilding days down at the Walker Shipyard, Armstrong, Whitworth, where there were loads of Scots worked in the Newcastle shipyards, and they had a club called the Walker Burns Club. The statue is in recognition of when Rabbie Burns came to Newcastle in 1787 for a night. And in the late 19th century, for 5 years, the Scots shipyard workers round here had a whip round, if you like, and clubbed and saved up in order to have this memorial of Robbie Burns built here in Walker Park. Unfortunately, after its opening in 1901, it fell into disrepair in the 1970s, I think it was. So it was moved to somewhere in Heaton, where it was further falling into disrepair and getting vandalised. So in 2016, there was some lottery funds made available, and along with Newcastle City Council, they commissioned a brand new statue of Robbie Burns, and it's actually built on a water fountain of some sort as well. There's also this beautiful monument in memory of the 5th Battalion of the Northumberland Fusiliers who fought and died in the First World War.
My name's Ray from Walker. You know, all the bikes that come flying around Walker Park. You know, total disrespect for everybody. Flying around all the streets. Doesn't matter what time of day. And I'm not just talking electric bikes, I'm talking motorbikes, motor scooters, the whole lot. And they're just flying up and doing it. It's a little bit quiet at the minute, but you normally hear them flying up and doing Hexham Avenue, Grosmere Avenue, up Dunstanbury, along Allendale Road. And it's just constant, especially at night time. And then you see them with all the hoodies on, and they've got knee lights on their bike, and they're flying up and doing, and they just hit somebody. That's all you need to do. And you know, they get off scot-free, and somebody's left with loads of injuries, especially the old age people, you know, around here. And I've lived around Walker most of my life, and it's not the greatest place to live these days, even though I love Walker. But all the pubs are closed, there's no community. There's a little bit of community on Hexham Avenue. There's a community hub, community house. They seem to do a lot, but that's it basically, and that's Walker as a whole.
My name's Eddie Welfords. I'm from the Walker area, predominantly Hexham Avenue. I'm part of a group called Walker Wasters. We have roughly about 12 members, and everything's going great. Walker is predominantly a poor place. It was always built on a poor working man's heritage. We're shipbuilders, we're coal workers. Most of all, we're proud people. We have nothing, but what we do have, we're proud of, and we would like to hold on to that. Walker Park used to be an absolutely amazing, beautiful place, and we want them here days back. I think getting them here days back, I think a lot of people in the area, especially the newer generation, need to take pride in that place. The type of problems that the park face is ASB, which is antisocial behaviour, i.e. Kids loitering, kids doing what they're not supposed to be doing. It's the motorbikes, it's the off-road vehicles, it's the dropping of the litter, it's the wanton vandalism. It's holding everything back in terms of regeneration in the park, new equipment, replacement of equipment. There isn't a bottomless pit of money. The off-road vehicles, what they do is they go onto the two pitches just across and across there, and they stop games on the weekends. When these big off-road vehicles go across these pitches, which has been maintained, well maintained by groundsmen of these said football clubs, the football pitch is so churned up, it's left in a state of disrepair, but it's also dangerous to young kids. And it stops these games, it stops the enjoyment for these kids on the weekends. Walker Wasters was founded because we seen it wasn't being well maintained, it wasn't being looked after, it wasn't being enjoyed, and the group thought, nah, we've had enough, we need to set an example. And that is what we've done. We wanted to make the example. We've set an example, and we're now getting a lot of kudos from the community who are now starting to back with, but also local businesses, local organisations, i.e. the John Bost, Kids Cabin, the YMCA. But now because, and I do believe that Urban Green were getting such a bad rap, we have now been supported by Urban Green with great people put in place, and the future of Walker Park looks absolutely fantastic, but we need the support of the community. But because of the impact of Walker Wasters and myself going to the park forums and meeting with the Lord Mayor and such, our ideas for the park, i.e. the outside gym, the vegetable plots, the growing plots, but also workshops for younger people in the area have all been listened to and sanctioned. For these things to be put in place, we need that antisocial behaviour to stop first.
Thanks for that, Eddie. Well, if that doesn't get you motivated to come out and help your local community, I don't know what will. I don't know what the answer is to a lot of these problems. You know, imagine being a kid who plays for the local football team here and they turn up on the Saturday morning whenever they play and your football pitch is being churned up. Oh, it would drive me up the wall. It makes my blood boil. You know, the wanton vandalism and destruction of property is, and Walker is no different. You know, there's nothing unique about Walker. This is happening in most places in Tyneside. It's happening in most places around the whole of the UK. I do know that, you know, in terms of the police and scrambler bikes, the police don't have the authority to pursue scrambler bikes when they're out and about for obvious reasons. So when you eliminate that, you can imagine how difficult it is to identify, not to mention catch and convict these young lads who are, you know, terrorising our local communities. But there are some things that you can do yourself to help. Little things like picking up litter. That, you know, you don't always have to expect somebody else to have that responsibility or some other local authority to be responsible for that. We are all responsible collectively and individually for the communities that we live in. Now, if you want to watch a video, one of my very first videos, when I first started 4 years ago making these videos for my channel, I did one about the Wardley Wombles litter picking group, which I set up around about 4 years ago. So it's only two and a half minutes long. Check it out.